From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
McCready, Clark Ford Studio this morning. Thanks to everyone for the couple days off there, hanging in with us over the course of Friday and Monday. Hope everyone had a happy Easter. We'll talk some baseball today. We'll talk a little bit of everything. Also, I see Greg Sankey talk to some reporters in Birmingham. We might go over what he said a little bit. So, packed show on this Tuesday morning. Ole Miss and Mississippi State tonight from Pearl at Trustmark Park. We'll discuss that as well as we go on this podcast, brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford, the Blue Sky. You know that you can get the lunch specials, the ribs at night, and last chance to, or not today, but this week, heading into Saturday, the FCA breakfast. It is on the Ole Miss campus at the Manning Center. It is sponsored by Craddock Oil, and the Kessinger family is a special guest today. It's been growing every single year. You heard from Ben last week. They up over around 70-something tables, so if you want a seat, give them a call. OleMissFCA.com is where you find out more information there. With that, we've given you a couple phone numbers. I can do that later on the website if you need it. So again, Ole Miss FCA breakfast this Saturday at the Manning Center, brought to you by Craddock Oil. Again, to be here from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call that number. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what new Ford you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's that simple. There's no hassle, no haggle, right to the bottom line. You get your quote, and the rest is kind of up to you. You can obviously shop your quote around if you'd like, or you can let Corey and the people at Clark Ford do for you what they've done for me and so many others, and that's take the hassle out of the everyday car buying experience. Get a great Ford vehicle, great service after the sale. Corey wants to be your truck guy. He wants to be your car guy. He'll prove it to you. 662-257-1900 at the end of your deal. Tell Corey that you heard about Clark Ford on the podcast, and you'll save $500.
Other than, I guess a couple different things with your kids. How was Easter, Mr. McCready?
Easter was good. The weather was good. We got a lot of yard work done. Oh. I don't mind doing that stuff. It doesn't bother me. I'm boring. I've said this for many, many years. I'm a very boring person. It was good. We had a good time. I've written about it. Sunday morning was a little spooky for a second, but all's good. Campbell had her tonsils and adenoids removed yesterday. Actually, the adenoids were basically already removed, but so she's not feeling so great. But we'll get through it. This was the perfect week to do it, and so yeah, Easter was good.
Yeah.
How was yours?
Yeah, it was good. I don't know that boring is the word, and maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is I mentioned this podcast before. Maybe this is one of those deals where I'm at a pretty good place in life that I like my routine. I like kind of my daily activity. I'm not a big vacation person, and I know that seems weird to 98% of the country, but I really don't. I feel like it gets me out of routine. I kind of have a hard time letting everything go. I have a hard time relaxing, and
you work the entire time.
I like it though. I like what I do. I don't like. I just don't. I don't know. Like I don't have a gear that's something different. I don't really adjust well to nothing. I need something to do.
Yeah, I probably used to be more that way than I am now. You could offer me a week someplace, and I could throw my phone into the ocean and disappear.
And it wasn't like I was on Twitter the whole time, because I really wasn't. Like, for me, I disconnected a pretty good bit, actually, this trip. But what I was getting at is, a lot of times when I get back from my vacation, I'm almost more tired than when I left. And I almost feel like I need a couple days to return from the vacation, if you will. And I felt like I got back yesterday and just felt better. I don't know. Like, I had a little more energy, had a little more, maybe even appreciation for the daily activity a little bit. I don't know. I felt a different sense of calmness and relief following this one than I do after a lot of them. So I was pretty pleased with that, because I did disconnect. We spent a lot of time with Carly Ann. No, I told you this. A beach trip with a 3-year-old is a lot different than a beach trip just going out and reading on the beach all day. You're chasing a 3-year-old.
I've been there.
Yeah, you're chasing the 3-year-old more than doing anything. She liked the sand well. She was not a fan of the actual ocean water. She was convinced the shark was going to bite her. It was cold, too, the water. And other than the day that we got there, the outdoor pool was very, very cold because the first 2 full days, the wind was howling, and it was about 60 degrees. Well, on the beach, that's miserable. That's cold. Yeah. So, an indoor pool saved us. We spent a lot of time at the indoor pool. She was very comfortable with that. She liked that. She's a little more pool than beach, and that also allowed me to unwind a little more than just chasing her up and down the beach. So it was good. Got a lot of fresh fish. That's always nice down there. You and I kind of like the same food in that regard. Yep. So actually brought some shrimp back and different stuff. So that was all in all good. I think that I'm in a little better frame of mind than I typically am getting back from vacations, because I admit that. My wife knows it. My family knows that. I'm just unless it's very specific things, I'm just not a vacation person. I don't ever feel the need that I just have to get away and I have to have a vacation like a lot of people do. That's never really a sense that comes over me.
Yeah, our problem at this point with vacations is for us to go on a vacation, we've got to find somebody. If we don't board the dogs, and if you board the dogs, it's just poor old Gus. He doesn't handle that well at all. I mean, it traumatizes him, I think, to the point that I don't think it's healthy. So we've got to find somebody to come basically stay with the dogs. You got to have somebody water the plants. You got to have somebody, because we went to California last year for a year, and when we got
a year would be a long time.
I mean a year, about a year ago for about a week, and the grass was basically dead. The pool water was too low. There's just so much stuff that has to be done. The whole family boarding up and leaving for a week is not really an option.
And your kids are getting to the age where that happening will probably not be again until maybe there's even grandkids involved.
Yeah, I mean, Laura and the girls are going to the beach in June-ish, and they're taking friends. And I might go. I might not go. Carson doesn't really want to go to the beach. He kind of does, kind of doesn't. I'm worried about him going down there and getting bored, and then what? You know what I mean? And I love the beach. I could get up and go to the beach at 8 a.m. and hang out till 7 p.m. and be perfectly fine. But he's not that way. So I'd have to entertain him. We talked about doing our Cubs vacation, but it doesn't work this year very well. The dates don't. So I don't know. He and I, it might be the Neal and Carson Oxford vacation, which wouldn't be much of a vacation.
I get that you're obviously pretty busy, but have y'all contemplated postponing it and doing a Bears trip?
We talked about it. Okay. We talked about it because there's a couple of games in December that at home, I think they play. I know Kansas City's one of them, and I think Dallas is the other one of them. So both of those would be, for him, pretty cool games to see. And he likes Patrick Mahomes, like a lot of young kids. More of our NFL, MLB conversation. It's funny how Carson's 12, 6th grade, and he knows Patrick Mahomes. They like Patrick. Kids like Patrick Mahomes. There you go. That's a stock tip for you if you're investing in a player. Kids like Patrick Mahomes. They like everything about him. And he likes him. So he likes the Bears and he likes Mahomes. That game's like the 22nd or 23rd. I actually think it's a Sunday night game right before Christmas. So we've talked about that one. That might be doable.
I'm going to move on to some Ole Miss stuff in a second. Have you gotten invested at all in these NBA playoffs? From a Thunder fan perspective, not just liking basketball in general.
No. The Thunder are playing ugly basketball to the point that they're not much fun to watch right now. I mean, they're back to doing. I'm convinced George is hurt, Paul George. He's just not shooting the ball the way that he did in the first half of the season before the shoulder injury. Westbrook's back to doing his thing, which the Blazers have set a trap for him, and he's fallen into it. Simple as that. Everybody's obsessed with the media stuff, and look, Russell's being obnoxious to the media, and Barry Trammell of the Oklahoman is handling it in the professional way that you would expect Barry Trammell of the Oklahoman to handle it. But that's not the reason that they're down 3-1 in the series. It has nothing to do with Russell refusing to answer a columnist's questions. They're down in the series because they're not making shots, and as they're not making shots, Westbrook is more and more losing faith and trust in his teammates, and he's jacking up threes. And yeah, he makes a few, but they're bad shots. There's no flow to the shot. And then on the other side, I think Terry Stotts is one of the most underrated coaches in the league. I've thought it for years. And C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard are the two best players on the floor right now. They've dominated the series. I'm not invested in Utah, Houston. I've enjoyed it. And then, the team that's really playing great basketball right now just finished their first playoff series victory in 18 years, the Milwaukee Bucks. They're really good, and there's more to that team than Giannis Antetokounmpo. And they're fun, but no, I'm not invested yet. I'll probably get invested a little bit just from I like the NBA standpoint in the next round when it's Milwaukee and Boston and Toronto and Philly and the Rockets and the Warriors, and then the Blazers against either the Nuggets or the Spurs.
Yeah,
that's been a series.
I was just curious because I noticed a little bit of a sea change. I kind of remember not too many years ago where you'd be really, really locked in all over the place with every Thunder playoff game, and it just seemed like there was a little disconnect there, so I was curious.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is I've been, for the last, month or so, in a pretty intense exercise regimen. And frankly, by about 10 o'clock at night, man, I'm spent. I'm done. And the Thunder have played a lot of games on the West Coast in Portland, and then their games at home have been 8:30 tips. And part of it's I'm old, and part of it is I'm burning a lot of energy over the course of the day, and I get to that time of the evening, and man, I'm done. Staying awake is hard. Like I tried to stay awake for Game 3 on Friday night. Some of this was alcohol related, and I wrote about it in 10 Thoughts. But by the third quarter, I was so tired I couldn't figure out who had the ball, so I just went to bed.
Is Russell going to continue this his entire career in Oklahoma City with Trammell?
Probably. And what's interesting, and I know some of the people involved, obviously. I know some of the people in Oklahoma. They all, to a man, swear that two things. One, this is not what Russell Westbrook is like in real life. This is a character that he has created. It's essentially what Trammell wrote in the Oklahoman on Saturday. And then they tell you that he doesn't really have an issue with Trammell. He's created, and you've never dealt with this much yet. You probably will at some point, where the people that we cover decide they don't like us, and it gets weird. They don't know why they don't like you, but they've dug in that they don't like you, and it gets weird. And especially when you're the type of person that Trammell is. I don't know if you've ever met Barry Trammell. I have. He's kind of old school. It's really good. He's not going to back down. Now, he's not egging it on, but he's going to keep asking questions because that's his job. And if he backs down, he sort of allows Russell Westbrook to bully the media.
Well, and look, it's not a big deal per se. It's really not. But I find it interesting just from outside the NBA standpoint, as far as not really being a fan of anybody, is Oklahoma City should be that team. Russell's fun on the court. They should be a team that the average person kind of likes and kind of roots for. And I feel like so many different things happen around Westbrook. And yeah, I'm not saying that he's not a good family guy. That has nothing to do with any of that crap. But his persona and this and everything else, it makes Oklahoma City, a small market team, very unlikable. And that's frankly hard to do in that market.
It is, and some of it is a bad media narrative. The Russell chased off Kevin Durant narrative, which is complete and utter horse crap. I mean, it just is. It's completely false. If you talk to anybody who's informed, that's wrong. It's just wrong. A lot of it is the Bill Simmons, James Harden obsession that the Thunder chose Russell Westbrook over James Harden, which is wrong. It's not true. The Thunder absolutely made a mistake in choosing Serge Ibaka over James Harden, but that was really more because Ibaka took the team-friendly deal at a time when the Thunder were convinced that the salary cap was going to be lower than it ended up being. They made a mistake on the Harden trade. There's no question about it. But, Westbrook took a team-friendly deal. Ibaka took a team-friendly deal, and then when Harden didn't, they traded him, which was a mistake, but that had nothing to do with Westbrook. And then the Westbrook-Durant dynamic. But since Westbrook's been the guy, his personality, that chip that he carries on his shoulder, that's still from not being heavily recruited out of high school. He got a scholarship at UCLA. He got the last scholarship, and only because the point guard went pro unexpectedly after his sophomore year. And there was an assistant coach on the UCLA staff, Ben Howland's staff at the time, who really liked Westbrook and convinced Howland to give him the final spot on the roster. Otherwise, he was going, I think, to San Diego State or somewhere like that. And he's let the chip get too cumbersome, frankly. He needs to chill with it. But I don't know that he knows how to do it. And so, yeah, I see when people say they're unlikable. I get it. I mean, they have some really likable guys. Steven Adams is maybe one of the 2 or 3 most likable players in the NBA. I mean, he's really funny and a genuinely good guy. But I get it. I get the Westbrook angst and some of the stuff with the way that he behaves on the floor. And some of the things that he does on the floor are just, this year especially, have been irresponsible. He's got to dial it back, or
it's a cancer to the franchise.
Forward.
Yeah, because that was kind of the last thing with it is you can't go, oh, I don't care about the media, but then make a point to care about the media. You know what I mean? Like that's not a sufficient answer. I just don't care about it. Well, then you would just shut up and answer the question and move on with your day.
Yeah, it's 2 things. One, it's the especially in that league. It's always been something that I thought Steve Kerr's comments were really interesting and accurate. When he talked about this is a league that has built itself on marketing the individuals. You get to know NBA players. There's a lot of media accessibility. That's by design. They have a lot of colorful characters in the NBA, and you get to know them. And that is by design. And it's a fun league. If you like basketball, the NBA is a lot of fun. There are a lot of great players, and when you go see a Giannis Antetokounmpo in person, a Kevin Durant in person, those kinds of players, you walk away absolutely awed by their physical skills. And so when you get to know them as well through the media, of course, you're more invested, and you see examples of that all the time. And look, Westbrook's not the only guy to do stuff like this. I mean, he's one of the more visible guys. I remember Hugh Freeze doing this to David Brandt for a few days. Houston Nutt did it to me basically for a few years. People do it, but I've said this before. I'm not defending the media because the media largely look. There's a lot of look at some of the stuff that got written about the Sri Lanka bombings. Look at some of the stuff that got written yesterday about Elizabeth Warren's absolutely stupid proposal. I mean, it's economically irresponsible. And some of the stuff that got written, there's a lot of bias and agenda and stuff in the media. And the people who distrust and dislike media, I completely get it. I understand it. But if you're a person that's an athlete or a coach, and you allow the media to become public enemy number 1, you have lost. Because the media does not impact the results. The media is not the reason that Jeremy Grant and Terrence Ferguson and Paul George are missing shots in the playoffs that they made in the regular season. Barry Trammell's not missing those shots. Barry Trammell's not making those shots. Barry Trammell's not impacting those shots. And so at the end of the game, when you turn it against a Barry Trammell or whoever in the media, wherever the case may be, you look like the imbecile. It's like when Houston Nutt did that to me that day with that wasn't 49-10 or whatever he said. Any chance that he had of, and look, his chances were less than 1% going into that game, but any chance that he had of winning back the fan base, winning back the public trust, it disappeared at that moment. Not because of Neal McCready, because they didn't like me either, but because what he said in being so petty was, hey, it was a moral victory. And the fans said, no, this is not what we want. And so when you do that deal with, instead of Russell answering Barry Trammell's questions with an honest answer, like Kyle Korver had a great answer the other day about Donovan Mitchell. It's great. It's a phenomenal story. They just lost a game to go down 3-0, and Donovan Mitchell missed an open. Quinn Snyder drew up a brilliant play to get a wide open three for Mitchell that would have tied game 3 of that series. And Mitchell missed it. And Korver basically said, remember this moment. This is going to be a part of his journey. I've never been around a more charismatic NBA player, a young player in my career. And this is a guy that's played with LeBron and everybody else. And he said, this is going to be a part of his journey. And every NBA star in the history of the NBA has had a shot like that they wish they had back. And it's part of their journey. And that's the better answer. The better answer is to open up about things and to let the fans see that side of you as opposed to next question. You look like an ass at that point. Whether you are or aren't, it doesn't really matter. When you answer a question like that, you look like an ass.
Yeah. We'll continue on. We'll get into some Ole Miss stuff in a second. First, tell you about Scripted Jewelry, scriptedjewelry.com. Go to the website. Mother's Day coming up quickly. We talked about how it was a good ways away. Not so much. And because of that, you only got 2 days left with an order deadline at Scripted Jewelry to take advantage to get it in time for Mother's Day. Perfectly personalize that special gift for the mother in your life. You can see a complete section at scriptedjewelry.com for Mother's Day gifts, recent work, recently purchased items, new arrivals, and much more. Again, turnaround times are fantastic, so take advantage of it now and save money. Rebels 10, REBELS 10 to save 10% with scriptedjewelry.com.
Guests will join us on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law. They specialize in personal injury law and real estate law, but they really can handle anything. They're a general practice. They can handle your legal needs. Yeah, here's the benefit of being a podcast listener. If you have a legal problem, you're not sure how to pursue it. You're not sure if to pursue it. Maybe you've got something coming up that could lead to some sort of a legal issue. Take advantage of our relationship with these guys. Get in touch with John Calvin Patterson and or Wes Earhart. They're Ole Miss guys. They're local guys. You're going to get them on the phone within the same day, guaranteed, and just have a conversation with them about your legal issue. It's absolutely free. They're going to give you the advice that you need, whether you need to pursue it, whether it's not worth pursuing, how to go about doing it, and then go from there. It's PELaws.com, 662-526-1992. Warm weather is finally here. With it comes the inevitable debate of sock, or no sock with your loafers. I actually wore my no-shows with loafers on Sunday, and it made all the difference in the world because I used to hate it. I would take the loafers off and I wanted to go get my feet wet. Now I had on the socks and all was good with the world. So you can save your feet and your shoes from making their own impression. Step into spring with some no-shows from Dead Soxy. You really need to experience the difference a quality sock makes. Go to deadsoxy.com, enter the code Rebel Grove at checkout to receive 30% off all orders, including sale items. These no-shows are the same quality you already love and enjoy with the traditional dress socks, and they come with a no-slip guarantee. So go to deadsoxy.com, check out the no-show collection. Remember to enter promo code Rebel Grove at checkout for 30% off all orders. This podcast also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust, based in Madison, Mississippi, represents clients in 24 states, has advisors in 3 states. It was founded in 1997. Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much, much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan made just for you. It's pintrust.com, PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, you'll get 10% off your first year's fee.
Podcast also brought to you by G&M Pharmacy right there on South Lamar in Oxford. They deliver local to your home or workplace in the Oxford area. They also offer MedSync to make sure you're taking medicine when you need to every single day. They put you on a schedule. Make sure you have your medication. Also, been telling you about the CBD oil that they have. And it's not like other ones you might find on the market because it is pharmaceutical grade. It is FDA regulated. You know that the percentages and all the things are going to be exactly what you're supposed to get from a concentration standpoint. And it's legal in all 50 states. No crazy side effects or anything like that. It's just shown over time to help with many different things, including depression, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and more. Coming out now that a lot of golfers are actually using it on the course, I see, as well. So CBD oil, they're available at G&M. Just go in, ask them about it. They'll take care of you. You can also move your prescriptions over, all of your work while you're at it. Again, 662-236-2222. Speaking of golf, Ole Miss women's golf team wins the SEC championship for the first time in program history, a year after advancing to the NCAA championships for the first time in program history. Corey Hinkes and the Rebels, they beat the qualified number 8 to get the last match play spot, and then beat Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, all 3-2, all in order to claim the title. Macy Samoski, the freshman from Sanford, Florida, she went extra holes in all 3 matches to win all 3 of her match play matches, including the deciding point to beat Carolina. Played 62 holes over the course of over the 3 matches, and barring any kind of scheduling conflict, she'll be on the podcast later in the week to talk about it. So we'll talk to her. It's a pretty neat thing for those people up there. Really an improvement, a program that was just, destitute, nothing at all really prior to Corey's arrival, and now SEC champions. They learn their fate from an NCAA standpoint. They're obviously in the field on a Wednesday at 4:30. I'm pretty sure that is going to be broadcast on the Golf Channel. And then Ole Miss softball beats Mississippi State 2 out of 3, including a 21-0 win in the first game of the series. That was Mississippi State's worst loss in program history. As typically happens with softball or baseball and a lot of sports, everything flipped in like 2 hours. State won the next game 5-0, I think. And then Ole Miss won the third game in extra innings to take the series. The Rebels are somewhere around 2nd or 3rd in the SEC standings behind Alabama at the moment, so they are playing incredibly well. And they go into a very pivotal week here with Southern Miss and Tennessee coming up for the Rebels softball team. Little worse news for baseball, and they have a big week as well. But it started off with a 2 out of 3 series loss to Auburn over the weekend on the Plains. They won the middle game. They beat Tanner Burns and then lost to the 2 left-handers. So go figure. But that's what happened with them. They lose in extra innings on Sunday to fall in the series. They're now 10-8 overall in the SEC. They've got Mississippi State for the Governor's Cup tonight. Zach Phillips on the mound for the Rebels against Peyton Plumlee, a right-hander for the Bulldogs. And then Ole Miss getting Texas A&M this weekend for double-decker weekend. It's amazing, and I don't blame anybody. This is the observation that I seem to make every Sunday, and I'll make it again, and we're going to continue to talk over ourselves nonstop, it is amazing what one game does from a mental standpoint for fan bases, probably for teams and everybody. Because if you're sitting there at 11-7 after the win over the weekend, everything's kind of good and calm for at least a few days. Instead, they lose the extra inning game. They fall, 6-5 in 10 innings on Sunday, and every bit of the teeth gnashing has come back to the surface.
Yeah, I wrote about this in 10 Thoughts. And not to turn this into a Bianco conversation, because there's a lot of time for one of those. To me, it tells me that just based on the reaction on our board, I don't look at other boards, nothing against other boards. It's not something I do. But just on the reaction on our board, I think the fans, to a certain percentage, have just sort of lost their belief. They don't think that this is going to end in a good place. They're not over what happened on the Monday in June. They're not past it. They don't view that as just one bad day. They view it as a symptom of a program, and I think and I wrote about this a little bit, that I think they're on the cusp of apathy. They're right there. In fact, I mean, I just think people are kind of ready to check out. It's kind of like me with the Thunder. I still like the Thunder. I still cheer for the Thunder, but I know what I'm looking at, and I know what the results are going to be. And so when that's the case, I'm not quite as invested. I get it. I totally understand it.
It is, given their relative success, and I mean relative. I mean, obviously they've not had postseason success. That's well documented. If you're anti-Mike Bianco or just think that someone else needs to run the program, your one super regional in 10 years is really the key point in all this, and that's relevant, and I get it. But given the relative success that they are 10-8 right now, they won the West, they won the SEC tournament, all that crap last year. It's as unhealthy of a relationship between a program and a fan base as humanly possible, and in some ways, it almost, maybe I'm crazy here because I just now thought about this off the top of my head, Neil, so you can tell me if this makes no sense, is in some ways it almost even makes it more unhealthy because people still go to the games the way they do. You know what I mean? There's like a way to check out where, hey, you can see an attendance and everywhere, but because basically people like the outside, they like the alcohol, and they like the game of baseball, and they kind of like Ole Miss baseball, people still show up, and it creates this weird thing where you're breaking all these records with season tickets. It's really sunny outside. Let's go sit in left field, and we'll smoke some brats, and we'll drink some beers, and we'll have a good day. There's not that A1 fall that usually happens with a program that people are pissed off about. Instead of not going, they just show up and bitch about it. It's really a crazy thing, and I don't mean bitch in a negative connotation. I get it. I completely understand what you mean, but it just creates this environment where you look around and go, "This is really weird."
Well, I've said this before, and it always comes across to people like I'm insulting Oxford. So I'm going to preface it with, Oxford's great. We've lived here for 11 years, and I love it, okay? But on a Friday evening in Oxford, if you have a family, there's only so many things that are available for your entertainment options. A couple of movie theaters, bowling alley. It's not like we live right next to a lake. We're not, there's not a lake right here. There's not a lot of stuff that, you can't go like, skiing right here. There are limited options. And so, yeah, on a Friday night, you take the family, and the way that they have the left field thing set up, you go out and you hang out in left field, and the kids can play on the playground, and you grab some sandwiches from your favorite sandwich shop, and you throw them in your bag with a handful of beverages of your choice, and you hang out and you visit with friends, and maybe you watch the game, maybe you don't. You can still be there. The attendance can stay the way it is, but the investment level is down.
Yeah.
Now, I do question moving forward year to year, if the expectation is, and I'm not getting into what should or shouldn't be an expectation. It's not my business, and it doesn't matter. But if the expectation is this should be a super regional level team every year, and then it's not, if the expectations aren't met, well, disappointment kicks in.
Yeah, actual attendance is a little down, and I think season tickets, if this season ends in a regional, I think season tickets fall next season.
What if this team doesn't make the NCAA tournament?
Well, I mean, if they have a coaching change, then tickets will be up because new coaches bring in ticket sales. But otherwise, that would be the same thing. Yeah, if Mike's back and they don't make the NCAA tournament, then yeah, tickets fall big time, major, no doubt.
Yeah, so too.
Yeah, I mean that's a no-brainer. Because investment-wise, financially, everyone bought into this season. Yeah, Monday was terrible, and that was the end of a team that should have been competitive from a national championship, or at least an Omaha standpoint. They should have had Texas at home that weekend, which would have been a blowout and all those different things. But everybody still came back and go, hey, Rollison's gone, but all these dudes are juniors. We're going to buy in. But you're just seeing this little bit of trickle here from an average attendance, actual attendance down. You're just seeing little steps every week being taken, and a little less investment as you make. That's a good word. Emotional investment, time investment, money investment, just investment in the program. You're just seeing little falls, and that's what's so interesting to me is that as of right now, they're 10-8. They were 10-8 last year too. But it's a 10-8 that looks a little funny because it's a 10-8 that includes series losses to Missouri, Kentucky, Auburn, even to an extent, even though that's a tough place to go play and win on the road sometimes. And a Florida team that is flawed, even though that it's still Florida and they might get healthy and go on some run, but it's not a Florida team that we've seen some of these teams in the past. Mike has typically done a pretty good job of getting his teams very hot toward the end of regular seasons. A lot of the teams that finished 19-11, 18-12, whatever in the SEC, they were kind of right around this mark most of the time. You look at last year, they were 12-11 when they were about to play a Sunday game in Columbia, South Carolina. They won 6 of their last 7 games to close the season, won 18-12. So even last year, I think there was some of this teeth gnashing at this point of the season, and then it's just continued to elevate and elevate and elevate. And if this team doesn't get hot, I think that they're going to go into the postseason if they make the postseason or whatever they are in the postseason. Because I do think they make the postseason with heavy skepticism and, frankly, a lot of fans just waiting on the same thing to happen. Because this is what I said last week, and I do believe this. It's not as much as, hey, this team has to host because this team every year should just host and that's where this program is. It's because that history has shown that's the only way this team can advance through the postseason because they have not won a road regional. I think that's more the thing. I think that had this team won some road regionals over the course of the last 19 years and there was this path, I think that fans would ease up and go, hey, let's just get hot at the right time. Let's just get in the tournament. We can get a good draw. We've shown we can go on the road and win. But because of the struggles in the postseason on the road to the point of, I think Ole Miss has only played 1 game in a road regional or 2 games in a road regional where it could advance to a super regional over the course of the last 19 years. That being in College Station in 2012 when they won the winner's bracket and then TCU beat them twice to advance to the super regional. Because that path doesn't exist like it's existed in some other schools, Mississippi State in particular, because they get compared so often for so many different reasons, that's where this comes into, is there's not just this overall trust in the program that if you just get in, you can find a way to make it happen, which has been the case maybe at Arkansas and Mississippi State for 2 comparable teams. To me, that's what a lot of this stems from.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it.
So as soon as you fall off that bar from 19 to 18 or 18 to 17 and you go, well, we're a 2 seed, well, the season's over. And that's not right. They're going to get a chance to play, but I do understand that mindset. I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
And as of right now, their RPI is like high 20s, which means 2 seed.
I get it completely. I totally understand. I understand the fan angst. I see it. I understand it. We saw this. We get this question all the time in mailbags, or people ask us, does your download numbers change when Ole Miss loses or whatever? Look, we've been doing this for 8 years on a daily basis. We've covered we've covered the end of Houston Nutt. We've covered all of the free stuff. We've covered an NCAA deal. We covered Tunsilgate.
We've seen the gamut from wonderful to awful.
Yeah, we've covered everything, and it never, ever really falls. I mean, it might dip a little, but it doesn't fall.
No.
In the days following that Monday, it collapsed. I mean, had it been the Dow, it would have been a crisis.
Yeah, we would have thought recession had hit.
And it came back.
Slowly.
Football
got here, basically, is what happened.
Well, and Mississippi State got eliminated in Omaha. That helped.
Yeah.
But that was It fell. And so it was one of those things that I noticed, and I said that was different. That was that we covered. I mean, we did a podcast after 4th and 25. We did a podcast after
Memphis and the Liberty Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Those podcasts got big numbers. The podcast, the Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after Black Monday did not get numbers.
Yeah, because I kind of gave everybody a day or two. Then on that Thursday, the numbers were still down. I kind of opened it up, and almost that thing where you tap the screen going, is this right? Seriously? What's going on there a little bit?
My point of bringing it up is I don't think people are over it. I think they've tried to get over it.
They want the team to get them over it.
Yeah. Yeah, they bought hype's the wrong word. But I'm going to use it, and I acknowledge it's the wrong word. My vocabulary is limited today. They bought the hype that this was going to be a team that was going to sort of say, hey, we know what happened last year. We stealed. And look, it could still happen. But right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. They do not look like a team today that is about to go on a big run. Doesn't mean they won't go on that run, but they don't look like one. And so if they don't, and it ends the way that it looks like it's kind of might end, because if you made me guess, I'd say 15 and 15, 16 and 14, and there are 2 in a regional somewhere, and you'll have to tell me where that regional would be. I have no clue. But they go someplace, and it doesn't. Yeah, they go to Chapel Hill, and they make it to Sunday, or hell, they might even make it to Monday, but they don't win it. I think that season, fairly or not, and that's for other people to determine. I think fans are going to view that season as a dramatic disappointment, as underachieving.
And that makes sense. I mean, the bar has been set to that level. Right, wrong, indifferent, your call. Not your call, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The bar's been set. So regardless of the elements around that, reaching that bar is a success, and not reaching that bar is a failure. And that's it.
Where people get frustrated with me is they think that I'm advocating for Bianco, and I'm not. I'm not advocating for Mike to be fired or not to be fired. Frankly, it's not my call. No one's going to ask my opinion of it. And I honestly, I don't have one. I'm not educated enough in that sport to really have an opinion about whether or not he has underachieved, overachieved, or met expectations on what the program should be. I simply don't know enough about all of the dynamics of that program to really make that call. And that's not a cop-out. It's the truth. Frankly, it's good journalism, because a lot of people that cover stuff are unwilling to say, I'm really not qualified to have all that informed of an opinion. What is, to me, the part of it that if you get to that place, where it gets interesting is you can talk about Mike's postseason and you have a valid argument. But Mike's been really consistent for 2 decades in the regular season at a program where that wasn't the case before him. Now, the dynamics have changed, the SEC network, all of those things. Maybe being an 18 and 12, 17 and 13 NCAA tournament host bubble kind of a program, which is sort of what they've been. Maybe that any random schmo can come in and do that. I don't know. I don't know how attractive the job would be. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not attractive, and I'm not saying it is attractive. I don't know.
I think if you lined all these jobs up, and maybe this is arrogance, I do feel highly qualified to make this call. I think it's a hybrid between Auburn, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M. I think it's in that tier. That's where it is.
Yeah, it's a solid job. In a vacuum, it's a great job. But the problem is they don't play in the vacuum division. They play in the SEC West. And it's not as good of a job as Arkansas from a recruiting standpoint because Arkansas has that contiguous state thing that gives them more flexibility with scholarships. It's not as good of a job as LSU. Louisiana produces more players, and while Topps is dying fast, they still have some of that. And then you have Texas A&M, where it's in Texas, for God's sake. There's a gazillion high school players right there in the Houston area that you can fill your roster with. It's not as good as those jobs. It's a difficult job. I didn't say it's impossible. I will say the one thing that fans do, and I get it, fans say it's great fan support. You're right. It has great fan support. That does not make any impact on a family making a financial decision. And they've done a lot of stuff with facilities. Everybody does stuff with facilities. But at the end of the day, if everybody has good facilities, the facilities aren't going to impact a family's financial decision.
And God bless him, he gives plenty of content on our message board, where like LA Dodger Rev and different guys on the message board are banging on the keyboard right now, and where they have a point is that Mike hasn't struggled to beat A&M or Arkansas.
Right.
They're losing in the postseason. So a lot of those things, Mike has shown that it is possible to overcome those. Now, is he one of only 3 humans on Earth that can do it? I have no idea.
Right.
But he's shown that's possible. That's not the problem. The problem has been beating Tulane and Utah and Tennessee Tech. And frankly, teams that Ole Miss was better than. So I still come back to this, and I'm going to repeat this 25 more times unless Ole Miss ends up 20-10 in the league and goes to Omaha and we all look like idiots in a month. And okay, great. If that happens, we'll go have some steaks at the Drover. Is Ross or whoever is making this decision, or whenever a decision has to be made, whether it's this year or next year or in 10 years, are the postseason failures a systemic issue because of something? Period. That is the question. Because if they are, then this is not going to work, or this is not working, because at the end of the day, it is a postseason sport. Now, you've got to have a good regular season to get to the tournament. But it is a postseason sport. If it's not systemic and you believe that it's just the dumbest luck in the history of the world, then you keep riding and you think it's going to average itself out. And I'm not saying it's one or the other. That's not my call. But that's what the call is, in my opinion. And I think it's that simple. I really don't think it's more complicated than that. Is if you feel like there's a systemic issue when it comes to postseason, then this isn't going to work. And if you don't, then you probably ride it out. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's more than fair.
I think that's the answer.
It's not what people want to hear, but it's fair because
I can have my opinions, but I don't get paid to make that decision, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah, well, and listen, money's an issue. Money's worth talking about. You got to pay him off, and you got to hire the next guy. At a time when your football program is not generating excitement.
Yeah.
Reality.
So I don't know. I mean, it says a lot just about what the fan base is feeling and kind of the way things are going that we're even having this conversation on April the 23rd for a team that's 10-8 in the SEC. But here we are. So
yeah, and it's not the people that compare it to the Kennedy thing. And look, I like AK a bunch. You know that. The AK decision was not a hard decision to make, and AK knew it. This is not the same thing. This is not apples to apples. That was an easy call. Any AD could have made that call. Anyone could have made that call. It was obvious that Andy had lost the program. It was obvious that the program had gone stale. It was obvious that fan support was done. It was obvious to everyone, including Andy Kennedy. That was an easy call. And Andy made it even easier by making the call himself. This is a completely different set of circumstances. It's not even remotely the same.
And it's possible this is not even on the table.
It's possible they can't afford it to be on the table, even if they want it to be on the table. Again, it's money at a time when I don't think there's just money pouring out of the coffers over there, at a time when the football program, fairly or not, is not generating fan interest.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. We'll talk about a few other things in a second. Let's tell you about Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. So you're getting local underwriting and understands your market. They're a leader in condo financing and the float down option, so you can lock in the current rate. But if rates go down before you close, you just get the lower rate. You can find Jason at 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
The podcast is also brought to you by the Westin Jackson. I'll be publishing my mailbag at some point tomorrow, probably late in the day, the way things are going. You can restore serenity to your soul by visiting Soul Spa, the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. It's right there in the Westin Jackson. And then gather at Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro, sip on a creative craft cocktail, enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. So gather at Estelle tonight. The podcast also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you're last minute starting to think about your summer vacation plans, maybe you're looking for something along the Gulf Coast, maybe you want to go to the Caribbean, maybe you're doing something sort of quasi-exotic, you're going to Scotland or England for a golf tournament or a golf vacation, I should say, you're going to Napa, whatever the case may be, get in touch with John. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows John to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. John traveled the globe for 37 years before he got into the travel business. He knows the extra attention that's needed to make a special trip, one that creates a lifetime of unique memories. So if you're thinking about going with the boys to Pebble Beach or taking her to Napa for the vacation of her dreams, call John, give him some parameters and a budget, let him give you some options. And know this, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. It's 901-494-3387 or send him an email, j.edwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. It's a podcast that's also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, that's the place to go. Grenada Nissan has a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Go in, test drive one today. Tell Gene and Sandy that you heard about Grenada Nissan on the podcast, or at rebelgrove.com. You'll get Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com. And brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent. Coming up this weekend for the A&M series for double-decker for both. And you want to check out possibly moving to Oxford, maybe making it a retirement home, a second home, whatever the case may be. Check out Savannah Square. It's a new 9-acre development, 0.7 of a mile from the Oxford Downtown Square. It's conveniently located east of North Lamar, just a short stroll from the Midtown Shopping Center and some of the restaurants like Volta and Handy Andy and the Oxford Canteen. Savannah Square will initially consist of 32 standalone detached structures ranging in size from about 1,100 to 2,400 square feet. The model home is available for your inspection this weekend at 215 William Street. These homes have wonderful layouts, impeccable finishes, which you can inspect at the model. So give Harry a call, look at the model, get more information about this great new development while they're still available. You can view more at savannahsquareoxford.com or give Harry Alexander with RE/MAX Legacy Realty a call or text at 662-801-5621.
So, again, Ole Miss and Mississippi State from Pearl tonight in the Governor's Cup. It's actually part of a day-night doubleheader at Trustmark Park. I see that Montgomery and the Mississippi Braves are playing at 10:35 a.m. this morning. So, early meeting at Trustmark between the Biscuits and the Braves.
Getaway day.
Still one of the best logos in sports, though. The Biscuits have updated their logo a little bit. Apparently, with Zodiac, it is I guess maybe the year of the pig, but they're calling it the year of the bacon. So their biscuit logo has bacon in it this year. I see.
Oh, that's good.
It's a great logo.
Yeah, it's a really good logo.
It is a fantastic logo. So anyway, Zach Phillips been pretty good the last couple weeks for the Rebels in the midweek. He gets Mississippi State tonight. I mean, with the way Gunnar Hoagland's been throwing, it could be an audition to return to the rotation. I'm not sure. We'll check on that. Ryan Olenek warmed up on Sunday to pitch. I think he could have gone in had he had to. He practiced yesterday to some extent. I expect he probably plays tonight, and if he doesn't play tonight, I do definitely think he's back for the A&M series this weekend. Josh Hall has filled in pretty well in the outfield, to the point that, frankly, I think Hall probably deserves some time in the other outfield spot even when Olenek returns. But Keenan's getting hot. Gray is still hot. I mean, he's making a run at some real big SEC numbers over the course of this season with 12 games remaining. They got to get Dillard going. I think Dillard, his last, I think he only has one extra base hit in the last 54 plate appearances. He went 1 for 11 over the weekend. So he's one of the guys that makes this go. He's got to pick it up for Ole Miss to get on much of a tear as this thing finishes up. Because you do have to think at some point, at least if it's just a little bit of return to the mean, Gray's going to cool off a tad as they move forward.
Yeah. I mean, they got to get hot as a team, bottom line. The lineup's got to click together at the same time, and starting pitching has to go deeper because obviously the bullpen's not as deep as you would like it to be. And I mean, I'm not breaking news here. You just got to start. You got to get hot. Getting hot requires multiple players getting hot.
Good.
Because they got tough games coming up. They have tough series coming up. A&M's tough.
They got a 3-week stretch that's really difficult, and then they've got Tennessee, who is odd to just make it simple.
And playing better. Tennessee's played better the last couple of weeks.
Look, Tennessee has a chance, and it's just a chance. I mean, I'm not ready to say this is happening yet, but they're 9-9 in the league. Their RPI, 8. They get to a 16-14, they could host.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, we talked about weeks ago that was a series that you had to sweep. That's no longer a realistic expectation.
No, you need to get 2 and make sure you don't get swept. So, just a thought there. I mean, looking at RPIs, Tennessee 8, Georgia's at 3, Vanderbilt's at 2, Tennessee's at 8, Missouri's at 22. They're ineligible for the postseason. Florida's at 23, Carolina's at 56, Kentucky's at 47, Arkansas's at 5, A&M's at 13, LSU's at 18, Mississippi State's at 12, Ole Miss is at 28, Auburn is at 16, and Alabama's at 54. So that's where they are in the league right now.
I mean, here's reality. For Ole Miss to host, they got to get real hot. Just based on the numbers you just told me, they got
at least 17 and probably 18.
Yeah.
I think that's where they're sitting.
Got to go 8-4 down the stretch to have a real shot.
Yeah. You could get lucky at one less, but I think that's what it would take.
Just based off the RPIs you just told me, I'd say it's going to take 8.
Yeah. That's possible. Yeah. So, let's look at this a little bit. Greg Sankey was in Birmingham yesterday. I guess he's always in Birmingham, but he was speaking to one of the regional meetings for the APSE, that's Associated Press Sports Editors, yesterday, and talked about a couple different items. I put on the message board that he mentioned that men's soccer nowhere on the horizon really for the SEC, that it requires 7 schools to sponsor it. As of right now, only 2 do, those being Kentucky and South Carolina. So some people have asked about that, just kind of more pointing that out than anything else. I did think this was interesting. He was asked about transfers, the portal that has tons of players in it that frankly, though, a lot of players that a lot of programs aren't necessarily picking off other than that very top tier. There's going to be a lot of players out of that maybe even move back to their original schools at some point once they see that things are not shaking out like they had intended. But Sankey gives this quote. He goes, "What I'm concerned about is that we're seeking reasons," talking about transfers and legalities and whatnot. And says, whether there's a transfer rule or not, we should all know the same information and be able to make the same decisions. By that I mean universities, coaches, student athletes. Not you go behind the transfer portal door for reasons to be immediately eligible. It just doesn't seem that we're in the right place on that particular part of the issue because it just creates confusion. I'm wondering if Sankey at some point is going to move into a situation where he just basically he thinks every player should have one transfer without a reason attached to it. In several different interviews now, he's come off to me as a guy that is very turned off by the Tom Mars, the trying to search for the legality of a transfer instead of it kind of just being more black and white.
So you're saying that he's for loosening
I think that there's a chance that he's at least looking for more transparency, and that there's a chance the SEC could push for much more streamlined process for transferring, yes.
Yeah, I just think a kid should be able to transfer because he or she just isn't happy one time. I do. I'm sorry. I know that's... Here's what bothers me, is that an academic kid can't. They're just not happy. Just not happy. They want to go home. They need to get closer to home. In athletics, it's, hey, I got to a place and I don't like it. I hate the deal where they have to sit a year. Happy kids don't transfer.
I'm playing devil's advocate for podcast purposes. Do you worry about excessive tampering?
No, because there's tampering anyway.
Yeah, but it would be worse.
It might be a little worse, but happy kids don't transfer. I don't know. It's always bothered me. There's two things in college athletics that bother me more than anything else. One is the transfer rule, which I think's stupid. I think it's dumb that Jarkel Joyner has to sit out next year. I do. I think it's dumb. I mean, what is the point? And then secondly, the one that really bothers me is the whole you got to stay 3 years before you can go pro or whatever. I hate that. I think it's dumb. I think it's just so anti-American that it's ridiculous. And I don't care when people say, well, roster management. You're paying the coaches millions. Millions. So what? They got to hire another dude to manage the roster. Cool. That has always bothered me. I've been consistent with it. And I've had this argument with coaches about, well, we wouldn't be able to manage our roster. Half of them don't manage the roster well anyway. Happy kids don't transfer.
I'm fine with that if it's an incredibly early deadline. I do think you get to a point where you put the program in a really stupid place if you've got a lot of really late determinations on those decisions.
Yeah, that's cool. Have a deadline. I'm good with the deadline. I have no problem with deadlines. Put a deadline on it. You got to announce by March the 15th that you're leaving. February the 3rd. I don't care. Pick a date.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be before signing day.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Again, happy kids don't transfer.
I'm speaking more to the GoPro part, not the transfer. Part.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, make it early. It's cool. I just, because there aren't many kids who are going to leave after their freshman or sophomore years in football to go pro. They're not ready. It's exceptions, and those kind of kids should be allowed. Like if Leonard Fournette wanted to go after 2 years, go. Go. It's all good.
Sankey also is in favor of not allowing any coaches to block transfers from receiving scholarships at other schools. So
he's also in favor of that. I am too.
Yeah,
I think that's stupid.
He thinks it should be an unlimited transfer.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a kid wants to transfer from Alabama to Auburn because he made the wrong decision, he should be able to. I think that's wrong. I've always been this way. The argument that's made is, well, roster management, and I'm like, you're paying the coaches millions of dollars. They'll figure it out.
He expertly sidestepped the LSU basketball situation and his league situation. His quote on that, just if anybody's curious, is LSU made the decision based on the information that now has available. I said at the time that I supported their decision to suspend their head men's basketball coach when he didn't interview. He submitted to an interview. The conference is not part of that. They made a decision based on information available. I view it as a chapter in a larger story. The suspension was part of the story, a chapter in that story. The interview and reinstatement is a chapter in that story. We have a federal trial that is beginning on Monday. Really, the global basketball issues, I presume there will be another chapter in that bigger story, and we will see how the whole story concludes, Sankey says.
Yeah. In other words, we really need to get him out of the league.
Hey, he doesn't even have to testify. This dude's got a chance of saving his gig, I'm telling you.
Oh, there's no question he does.
Got a chance to sidestep this.
If he and Sean Miller both avoid anything from this, the lesson that should be taught to every basketball coach out there is if you're not cheating, that's on you. Really, there's no other lesson that could be taken from it. If you're not out buying players recklessly, that's on you. Because they've got Will Wade and Sean Miller on wiretaps talking about buying players.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not complicated.
Then lastly, the last thing, The Athletic, that's where I'm reading this all from, is pointing out, they said that Sankey is not in favor of any type of expansion to the college football playoff. He said no when asked if the SEC was in favor of expanding. I think 4 works. It has worked. It does work, and it will continue to work. We will be attentive to conversations, but fundamentally, that is my statement. Without the SEC's backing, it very well could just stay at 4.
Yeah.
Jim Delaney of the Big Ten would like to go to 8.
Yeah.
And he would like to go to 8 because Ohio State was left out this past year. Sankey does not care whether it goes from 4 to 8 or not because the SEC champion is getting in. I don't care.
Yeah. No, you nailed it.
Yes. For his constituents, 4 is fine.
Yeah.
One less game they got to win, and they're always getting in.
Yeah. I mean, he's representing his constituency.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Sure.
He's the senator.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. So far, everything you told me from Greg Sankey yesterday, I'm generally agree with.
Yeah,
generally in agreement with.
He had from what his job is to do. I thought he had a pretty good day. He doesn't always, but yesterday he did.
Yeah, he's a very, very, very smart guy. I don't always agree with a lot of the stuff that he does, but the people that say he's in the bed of this and that, nah. He's made some mistakes. There's no question about that, but he's a very smart guy.
Yeah, he's a little too Pollyanna for my taste, but for the most part, yeah, I'll go there.
He's also following an absolute legend.
Well, yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
It's also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with the personal touch. When you call OUB, you speak directly with a live person. No 10 buttons to push, no 5 minutes to wait. They've got Kasasa. It's the absolute best cash checking account. And with Kasasa, OUB will pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000 and refund ATM fees nationwide. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. And we've got the Blue Delta Jeans 5-year anniversary party at the Lyric on Sunday, this coming Sunday. Join the great people of Blue Delta Jeans for music, complimentary Bloody Marys, complimentary Big Bad Breakfast biscuits, and you can check out their new line of their spring-summer line of denim and Holland and Cherry. It's from 10 until 2. It's a private event, but you're invited just because you listen to this Potato Log podcast right here. All you have to do is go to Blue Delta Jeans on Instagram or Twitter and send them an RSVP through their direct message. It's open, slide in, tell them you're coming, how many people, give them a phone number, all that stuff. And, or you can send them an email, info at bluedeltajeans.com. And that's it, really. You can be one of the cool kids. So we'll see you on Sunday on the square in Oxford for Blue Delta Jeans birthday party, Bloody Marys, biscuits, and blue jeans at the Lyric. What could be better than that?
Podcast is brought to you by Mastercuts Lawn and Landscape. You know they provide premium lawn care throughout North Mississippi. You know they offer a whole lot more. Mastercuts will build your custom playgrounds, retaining walls, pool decks, a lot of lighting, and all outdoor living spaces with paver patios, forestry mulching, and much more. The dream backyard, easier than you think. You can find out more by going online at gomastercuts.com, and you get a free quote by just giving them a call. Tell them you heard about it at rebelgrove.com or the podcast at 662-607-7773. So while I was on the trip, I did get a chance to catch the Jeopardy Savant on Friday. Neil, pretty impressive. He's pretty impressive. He's still winning. He wins again. He won again on Monday. His total earnings now, let's see, I had it here a second ago, where are they? I had this. $942,738 over the course of just 13 shows.
Wow.
Yeah. Because he was halfway through Double Jeopardy, he had a ton of money, and they're like, hey, you got a daily double, what do you want to risk? And he was like, oh, everything. Put it all on it. I'm like, if you don't get it right, you probably don't have time to catch up. He got it right. Dangest thing.
He's just rolling dice now.
Oh, I mean, there's not many people that can literally beat him in the world.
He just knows everything.
In 13 shows, he has 455 correct answers and 17 incorrect answers.
It's unbelievable.
Do some math there. He won 110,914 on one show, which is a record. Yeah.
How's he doing super regionals? I'm kidding. Kidding.
That's kind of funny.
See how he does in the Jeopardy playoffs, all right?
Yeah. The Tournament of Champions, isn't that what it's called?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Just saying. He owns the 6th highest one-day totals in program history through 13 shows.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah. Sports gambler.
And if you get him as one of your opponents, you've waited for years to get on the show, and you come up against him and you're like, oh, come on.
Well, you might. I mean, it might be one of those deals, though, where he's on for 6 months. I mean, I can remember Ken Jennings going on that huge run and it being a huge thing when he finally lost. And this guy has a chance to beat Jennings' overall record in like half the shows. I think he's on pace for breaking this thing in like 30-something shows as opposed to like 70-something shows.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, I don't know why Jeopardy is very entertaining to me, but it is.
It's a great show.
That remains one of my favorite Alexa skills in the kitchen at night. Just play Jeopardy.
Yeah. You've intrigued me on that. I don't think I could ever get anybody to leave me alone long enough to let me do it.
Do you not?
No.
You don't think you would enjoy Alexa?
No, I would absolutely enjoy Alexa.
Okay.
Hell, I like Siri.
You do really like Siri.
I do. She is my friend. She helps me.
I have not watched even a second of it, but the Nashville Predators eliminated from the NHL playoffs by the Dallas Stars last night, 2-1 in overtime.
Yeah, I saw it went to overtime.
Yeah, Stars win 2-1 in Dallas, and then the Hurricanes beat the Capitals 5-2 in Game 6. So
I've been searching. Huh?
They will go 7 games.
So 2 things before we finish up. One, I'm still searching for sort of the crap take of the day.
Okay.
And I haven't really found one.
All the takes today are good?
With really bad take today.
Really?
What the hell's wrong with me?
Let's see. Do you agree? Do you agree here? Charles Barkley's top 5 players in the NBA. Who do you think he said?
Top 5 players in the NBA. One's Kevin Durant.
They're not listed in order, but yeah, sure.
Okay. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
It's basically who would he start? His 5.
Okay. James Harden.
Yeah.
I
guess you said 4 of the 5.
Damian Lillard.
Nope.
And
all right, you got LeBron, Durant.
See, I didn't even say LeBron because I would not put LeBron in the 5 right now.
All right, so he says top 5 players in the NBA: LeBron, Durant, Giannis, Harden, and one more. Jason McIntyre is pissed because it's not Steph Curry.
Kawhi Leonard?
That is correct.
Yeah. I love Kawhi. Kawhi's awesome. He's terrific. I mean, Curry's not the best player on his team. But LeBron's not in that top 5 anymore. He's just not.
He's fallen off?
Yeah, he's a great player, but his body's starting to fall apart this year. So I guess Charles Barkley's take is the crap take of the day. It's brought to you by Scoopers Pet Waste Removal, LLC. Everyone loves their pets, but no one loves stepping in their pets' stuff, if you will. And tracking that stuff into your house is a nightmare. Scoopers will go into your backyard, your apartment complex, condominium, and pick up what no one really wants to pick up. For $10 of cleaning, Scoopers will clean up your yard, and they'll do it on your schedule whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, or a one-time service. No contracts are required. You can cancel at any time. If you have multiple dogs, it's just $2 for each additional dog. So if you own a home, a condo, or an apartment complex in Oxford and you'd like to deal with a lot less crap, call Scoopers at 662-506-2754 or simply send them an email at scoopers.oxfordpetwaste@gmail.com to get your cleanings scheduled today. Scoopers Pet Waste Removal, they're number one and your pet's number two business. And this week in Ole Miss athletics, the nationally ranked Ole Miss softball team returns to the Ole Miss softball complex on Friday at 6 p.m. as they take on Tennessee. Admission is free. For more information, visit OleMissSports.com. And the Ole Miss baseball team back at Swayze on Thursday at 6 p.m. as they host the Texas A&M Aggies for a 3-game series. For more information, visit OleMissSports.com.
So here's a little trivia for you too. I thought this was interesting. I don't know that I could have gotten anywhere near the number of either direction. I'll give you a shot at it. I'm seeing this on Twitter. Consecutive pitching appearances by a major leaguer without taking a loss. How many do you think it is?
Oh, I have no idea.
The all-time record, consecutive pitching appearances without taking the loss.
I'm going to guess this is a reliever. I just have no clue.
I mean, you think it's like 50? You think it's 1,000?
I would guess it's like between 60 and 80, somewhere in there.
Think so?
I have no idea.
Okay. The guy that holds the record played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams. Had to look that up. Second on the list is Peter Moylan, the former Brave.
Oh, God.
The record is 240 by Trevor Miller.
Trevor Miller.
240 consecutive appearances without taking a loss. Peter Moylan, 208. Sam Freeman, 190. Glenn Perkins, 181. Randy Flores, 176. Rich Rodriguez, 170.
So it's kind of the left-handed specialist who comes in to pitch to one guy.
Yeah, hard to get the loss.
Yeah.
But, yeah. 240. That's a lot. So just a...
That's wild.
Yeah. Little stat there to close the day. We'll have plenty more as the week goes on the podcast. Get one every day this week. Plenty at rebelgrove.com too. Again, baseball tonight. Ole Miss and Mississippi State from Trustmark Park in Pearl. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow.